Is the Muslim world truly united, or are there historical events that have caused divisions within it? Today we explore the intricate tapestry of unity and division within the Muslim world. We'll touch on sects, nations, and the historical catalysts that shape current affairs. Let's delve into the past to understand the root of these divisions. Islam, as it expanded across different regions, encountered various cultures, languages, and schools of thought. This encounter led to clashes between different religious beliefs and Islamic scholars, fostering the development of rational sciences within Islamic disciplines. These clashes resulted in diverse branches of study and specialization among Muslim scholars. While this diversity gave rise to numerous groups and sects within Islam, most of them remained within the Islamic fold, contributing to a rich intellectual environment in places like Baghdad during the Abbasid era. Contrary to being a source of problems, these differences actually helped in strengthening the understanding of Islam by facilitating debates and discussions on the interpretation of Islamic sources during a period of cataloging and codification. The division within Islam isn't solely a religious issue. It's a historical wound inflicted by European colonialism. Creating divisions in the Muslim world by establishing small, unstable states was a deliberate policy by the European colonialists to ensure the Muslim world never can unite. France and Britain prior to World War I had already carved up the Middle East amongst themselves. They drew lines on paper maps and created Transjordan, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, and Iran. Pakistan, India, and Afghanistan were later created, which separated people who had lived for hundreds of years together. It is such colonial policies which have now ballooned into multiple problems. Each nation was appointed with rulers who were subservient to both Britain and France. The Saud family actually collaborated with the British to destroy the Khalifa in return for leadership of the Hijaz. Such artificial boundaries have today become the lens through which many Muslims view the world. Hence the problem in the Muslim world to a large extent was an organized affair by the colonialists where initially they segregated Muslims physically, and then they ensured any ideas of Muslim unity would never arise by creating national flags, national independence days, and national anthems. Unity in the past was built upon Islam, and it turned the Islamic lands into prosperous societies which welcomed all and excelled in various fields. Hence, the absence of Islam, which is what the colonialists worked for, is the reason why over 50 nations exist where one nation once stood. It is not Islam that is the cause of divisions, but the absence of Islam that causes problems. A pertinent example of this is the attempts by the Western world in imposing secularism as the model to deal with the Sunni and Shia problem. Such an approach is alien to the people involved in the conflict, and rather than solving the conflict, it is in fact placing it in the private sphere, ensuring it has no influence in policies in the public sphere. The original dispute over the successor to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, can in reality only be solved by assessing the Islamic evidence in this regard. From this perspective, only Islam can ever be the solution. The actions of some Muslims in the past against the Prophet's family, the actions of Muawiyah and history generally are not sources of Islamic jurisprudence and hence cannot be the reference point. The reference point in this case would be the Quran and the Hadith, and naturally different interpretations can occur here, which is the case with all jurisprudence. However, interpretation is not a limitless process, and there are rules for interpretation. Democratic countries like the US and the UK, showcasing the multiplicity of perspectives within each, such as Democrats and Republicans in the US or Labour, Liberal Democrats and Conservatives in the UK. It also touches on economic theories like Keynesianism and monetarism, along with various schools of thought within socialism, each proposing distinct solutions to address perceived injustices related to ownership. Many academics and researchers in the West have presented papers on the Sunni-Shia schism and have used it as a basis to undermine the concept of one ummah. However, such actions have contributed to a process of change that has been gaining momentum for decades and is just coming to the boil now in the Muslim world. Despite the current division, there is a global rejection of capitalism and individualism in the Muslim world. A growing sentiment of unity is blossoming among Muslims, a unity that is not just a shared faith, but a shared history and shared values. Much like the differing ideologies within the Western world, the Sunni-Shia schism within Islam is a testament to the rich diversity of thought and interpretation within the faith. Yet, this diversity doesn't have to be a source of division. Instead, it can be a catalyst for intellectual growth and cultural enrichment, much like it was in the golden age of Islamic civilization. A government built upon the ideals society believes in ensures unity is created and protected. The Sahaba dealt very harshly with the Khawarij, who introduced foreign ideas into Islam, which would have created disunity. The return of the Khilafah is today considered well on the horizon, with various think tanks and experts including the CIA National Intelligence have predicted the emergence of the Khilafah. Without a state, it is virtually impossible to have unity. Without central government, the US Civil War would have resulted in 2 countries in North America. Without a government, there would have been no union between England and Scotland. It is a state that brings unity amongst people. Without it, unity is virtually impossible. As Islamic history has shown, Islam has detailed rules for unity and integration, and actually has a successful track record of uniting people from different backgrounds. The disunity we see today was created based on nationalism and continues to be fed by West.